What is the impact in Yorkshire? How is it looking this weekend? Joining me now is James Mitchinson, who's the editor of the Yorkshire Post. James, morning to you.
Morning.
More heavy rain predicted, I gather.
Well, last night it was still coming down. So far, so good here. It's not too heavy, but yeah, certainly, it's winter, and that's what happens in Britain in winter, isn't it? And this is one of the consequences that the Prime Minister and all the other party leaders are going to have to face up to, having called a general election in the middle of a lovely British winter.
And I think, James, it's no coincidence that the last time we had a general election in December was way back in 1923, because it isn't ideal. It was Macmillan who said, James, you don't need me to remind you, it's events which are the most difficult things to deal with as a Prime Minister. Could his response, the government's perceived response, have an impact on some of those seats up there in the general election? There are a number of key marginals after all.
You don't have to go back as far as Macmillan for a warning. In David Cameron's memoirs, he states that sometimes as Prime Minister, you simply have to respond to what Mother Nature throws at you. And that was in his memoirs in relation to the way he dealt with the floods, I think, in 2014. So
that's right.
Had Mr. Johnson read Mr. Cameron's memoirs, there was a little nugget of advice in there for him. Listen, the people of Fish Lake and Stainforth and right across South Yorkshire affected by these floods do not believe that the Prime Minister reacted quickly enough nor proportionately to the scale of the devastation. He should have been chairing a COBRA meeting immediately as soon as it became apparent how bad these floods were. He didn't call a COBRA meeting. He told us, and we splashed it on our front page, that this is not an emergency. We disagreed and have kept the pressure on ever since.
Quite right.
And juxtapose, the residents expected. Let's just take the politics out of this. It's not about the colours of the rosette. It's about whether or not the person in charge of the country responded quickly enough and in the right way. And what we saw was pictures of him sloshing a mop around as Specsavers in the Peak District.
Looked terrible.
Frankly, it just didn't look good, did it?
No, it's a stupid PR gimmick.
Well, exactly. I mean, whoever is giving the Prime Minister advice, whoever's in charge of his campaign, if I was Mr. Johnson, I'd be kicking them out and getting somebody else in, because this really was an opportunity for Mr. Johnson on the campaign trail to let's say, live by his words. It was only a couple of weeks ago, your listeners will recall the Prime Minister standing on his hind legs and saying the Conservative Party is a moderate party and it's an passionate party. He had a great opportunity to demonstrate compassion to the people of South Yorkshire. He missed what I think was an open goal in political terms. But that's all gone. That's in the past. He needs to now do something, I think, to make amends. And I think he could start by match funding the Community Foundation Floods Disaster Fund, which has now exceeded £250,000. I think it's gone over the 300,000 mark. If it hasn't, it will be close. The Prime Minister would be well advised to quickly declare that he's prepared to match that fund and then some.
And of course, that sort of money is peanuts, frankly, James, for a government which spends hundreds of billions of pounds. James, some of your readers, some of the people in those villages have lost everything, and there'll be problems over insurance too, presumably.
Well, there's businesses, homes that can't get insurance.
Yeah.
We're not talking about the Cotswolds here. These aren't £1 million mansions. These are houses that are cost, very, very, nice houses, but they don't cost millions. They cost more like £100,000.
Yeah.
The insurance company want £10,000 a year to insure them.
Amazing, isn't it?
And people are making decisions based on whether or not they can afford to pay extortionate premiums. So this would be a conversation for another day, but somebody needs to get the insurance phones in hand, because what they're doing, frankly, is criminal.
Do you think, just finally, James, that there's going to be another visitation from Number 10 or somebody?
By the Prime Minister?
Yeah. Do you think he should come again?
I'd have had him back here before now, and I'd have had him here demonstrating real help in the form of analytic strategy formed alongside people who know best in the local emergency services, the local authority, and I would be here telling them that As we've heard in other instances where there's been flooding on this scale, I'd be saying money is no object, and you can trust me, folks, to put this right for you. And while I'm at it, I'm going to have a word with these insurance companies. I'm going to find a way to make sure people like you, good, hard-working, honest people, can get a fair deal from the insurance companies so you can sleep at night without worrying you're going to lose everything all over again.
Do you know what, James? I think you should be advising the Prime Minister.
Well, he's got my number, and if he would like some advice, I'm more than happy to offer it to him. But I honestly think that there will be implications at the ballot boxes in communities like Fish Lake, in communities like Doncaster. There will be northern communities right across this part of the country, and they will be observing the Prime Minister's reaction, and they will see it as a proxy for how Mr. Johnson might react were they to be the victims of a similar situation.
All right, well, thank you for that. That is James Mitchinson. He is editor of the Yorkshire Post, the biggest selling newspaper in that part of the world. Pretty bleak, wasn't it? And the Prime Minister may rue his perceived indifference, his not chairing that Cobra meeting a bit quicker, because there's quite a lot of marginal seats up there, and they were hoping to make gains up there.